Good evening, everyone. We will be starting at 7:30 promptly. Thanks for your patience.
Hello all, Michael and Brendan, I'm speaking just to test my mic. I assume you can hear me. Thumbs
The
up.
test is successful.
Thank
And
you.
And for anybody that's just coming on the call, we will get started promptly at 7:30. Janet, could you please mute?
I'm here.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Bowling. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Learning and Innovation at the Virginia Department of Education. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm going to quickly get this started as we have a number of speakers that have registered to speak this evening. And so without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to our representative board member. That is Mrs. Ann Holton.
Thank you, Michael, and good evening, everyone, and thank you all for joining us tonight. On behalf of the Virginia Board of Education, I would like to welcome you to this virtual public hearing. The purpose of this hearing is to receive comments and suggestions from you, the parents, teachers, administrators, and community members, and other members of the public, specifically regarding the proposed driver education standards of learning and physical education standards of learning that are now under consideration by the board. The proposed 2022 physical education and driver education standards of learning reflect the expertise of diverse constituents and were developed through numerous phases of meetings convened with Virginia educators, college professors, other interested stakeholders. This public hearing serves as another opportunity for the Board of Education to receive additional citizen input. Your comments and suggestions are extremely important to the board as it prepares to address approval and adoption of the proposed standards of learning on these topics at the March 2022 Board of Education meeting. Please know that the department staff is joining me on this call in listening closely to your comments tonight. We will all be taking careful notes. They will take them into consideration as they prepare revisions for the board's consideration in March. And together we will ensure the entire board receives a timely summary of the verbal comments we hear tonight, as well as copies of all submitted written statements. We sincerely appreciate your willingness to speak with us tonight and value your comments. At this time, I would like to review the guidelines for speakers and members of the audience. We have several guidelines for all of our public comment meetings, and they are as follows. Number one, speakers will be recognized in the order in which their request was processed. Speakers must limit their remarks to a maximum of 3 minutes each. A signal, audible and visual as appropriate, will be given when a speaker's time limit has expired. When your time is up, please close your remarks promptly. If you have not done so already, you may email a copy of your remarks to Vanessa Wigand, VDOE Coordinator for Driver Education and Physical Education after you finish speaking. And let's be sure and put that email address in the chat, staff. Thank you. In the event that more persons sign up than the total time period allows, the Board of Education reserves the right to ask all speakers to limit their remarks to 2 minutes or less each. Please provide your name and affiliation at the beginning of your remarks. Speakers may provide a copy of your written comments, as we have said before. Thank you, and I look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Holton. And just a couple of reminders before we get started. As Mrs. Holton said, we will be calling speakers in the order that they appear. And now we are going through the list to make sure that the names do correspond with the speakers that have signed up. In some cases, please check the name that's on your Zoom screen to make sure that it's reflective of your name that you signed up through so that we can promote the correct people to panelists. So you'll see that two names, Jackie Almerode and also Wayne Hogwood, were already promoted to panelists. That means that they'll be our first two speakers in that order. I will provide opportunities for others to speak. If you have not signed up, you can indicate your wish to speak in the chat and we will put you on a list. Please note that the list is pretty long right now. I mean, it's about 28 speakers long. So that means that you will be at the end of that list. However, we will get to every speaker and I'll provide ample opportunities for and reminders. Also in the chat, we did put the 2 email addresses that you can send any kind of comments to. That's the Vanessa.Wigand email address and also instruction at doe.virginia.gov. So with that, we'll start with our first speaker, and Danny is going to be the one that is going to be showing you the yellow sheet and the red sheet that indicates you have either 30 seconds left or your time has expired. So Jackie Almerode, we will start with you. Please unmute yourself, and thanks for your comments. Jackie, if you're speaking, you are still muted.
Sorry.
You're all good. Jackie, you've muted again.
Okay. Is that better now?
Yes.
Okay. I am a retired physical education instructor. My last 3 years I was an administrator for New Tech, which is a project-based learning. And what I have found, and I just have general comments. I was also the administrator for driver education for Allegheny High School. I had to fight many years to make sure that driver education stayed in the school. They wanted to make it so that we had to go outside of school and go with private companies, which you and I both know they do not hold the same standards and quite often push people through. A lot of your schools push people through without making sure that they have expertise in driving. Right now, currently, they still are doing driver education, also doing behind the wheel there, which is great. I've taught for about 38 years. I think that the pairing of the SOLs are awesome when it comes to project-based learning. I've found that they were very easy to interpret as far as any kind of hands-on activity. And even though I'm not teaching, I got pretty excited because the language that's being used is promoting community and social awareness. And that was something that we did and will continue to do with your internships and some of your local businesses that were more than welcome and glad to see some of the students participating with them and alongside them. The other thing was I thought they were very easy to read, which is a good thing because if you're trying to interpret them and hold them, it's kind of difficult if you don't understand them. I thought that the social respect for students was most appropriate. The body images with your health, talking about overweight and that sort of thing is long overdue. Felt like that was a little better explained. The inclusion of marijuana in the driver education is majorly important because I've often had students tell me that the reason they didn't drink is because you could tell they were drinking, but there was no test for marijuana. So they could drive high, which is a little scary. And then the last is I thought that the importance that you put on the driver education and knowledge of the road was also very, very worthwhile. I appreciate you allowing me to speak. I don't hold all the expertise that you guys do, but I've been in the trenches and got a little dirty every now and then. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak with you.
Thanks so much for your comments, Jackie. And not in reflection to Jackie's comments, but just in general, just a reminder that we have a lot of comments tonight. That means that we will not be able to engage in any discussion back and forth with any of the speakers, but you can certainly submit questions that you might have to our staff and we will get answers to your questions. But I just wanted to say that just in case anyone had some questions for the board, we are receiving public comment. So now we'll move to Wayne, and then after Wayne would be Laura Manduzio.
Can everybody hear me there?
Can hear you.
Excellent. My name is Wayne Harwood. I'm a physical education teacher in Arlington County in my 17th year, all in Arlington. And I'm here tonight to just put emphasis on having inclusion be a major part of our SOLs and the writing that's going on. It's something that research has shown over time has led to greater success in our students when they can visually see themselves in the curriculum. And even more so, personally, this year, we in the school I work at have been doing a lot of work with the literature that we give our students in terms of seeing mirrors and windows. And that refers to the windows for them in literature, being able to see things that are different cultures, different backgrounds, different races in the literature that they get, kind of like looking out to what is in the world. But we also need to have those mirrors where they see reflections of themselves in that literature. And I think these parallel perfectly with physical education as well. And we need to enlist those mirrors and windows when we're writing this SOL and the curriculum for physical education. Anything that we can do to have our students be more comfortable and really see themselves allows them to acclimate and to really take ownership of what they're doing. And I think that leads to more success for everybody. Hopefully, I won't go over my 3 minutes there. Just wanted to make those points. Thank you all for letting me speak this evening.
Thank you very much. We'll move to our next speaker. And after this speaker would be, I didn't see Randy on here, Randy Orr. If not Randy Orr, then Catherine Gomez would be after our next speaker. So Laura, you have the floor.
My name is Laura Manduzio, and I've worked in Fairfax County Public Schools as an elementary health and physical education teacher for 13 years. First, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak about my true passion. I'm proud to have collaborated with many teams in editing and updating the Virginia health standards in 2015, 19, and 21. Research shows that physically fit kids have a higher academic performance. One topic that I strongly feel should be implemented is making the students accountable for their physical fitness test scores. There should be strict standards for each test based on their biological age and gender, and students should be assessed on whether they meet those standards. As of now, there are multiple fitness testing platforms like Presidential Physical Fitness, Virginia Wellness, and Functional Fitness Test. None of these test scores are currently mandatory to count as a part of their assessment for students. According to the updated standards, the second strand on anatomical basis of movement starts by saying that students should be able to apply the knowledge of structures and functions of the body. Ask yourselves, are they really applying the knowledge of their physical fitness test scores to their everyday lives if their scores don't even count as part of their assessments? There's absolutely no accountability or motivation for students to improve their personal health when scores don't count. The third strand of fitness planning, students should be able to achieve and maintain health-enhancing levels of personal fitness. If the standard is in fact holding them accountable to achieve and maintain this personal fitness, there must be specific standards set in place for students to reach for. The answer is not just do your best and you won't be assessed on the test, but what is their motivation? For example, they could get 0 push-ups and write a personal goal for doing 1 push-up and pass that assessment all the way through high school. That is not achieving or maintaining a healthy, enhancing level of personal fitness. I'm not saying students should fail PE altogether if they don't achieve these age and gender specific tests. I'm saying that it should most definitely be one of many standards assessed in the fall, mid-year, and spring. Students need to be aware of whether they're meeting a healthy expectation for their bodies. Take personal responsibility for where they currently stand, and then they can measure their growth by making specific plans for improvement. If health and PE profession wants to be taken serious, Virginia needs to step up and lead the way in teaching that physical fitness is important enough to be assessed. If we really want to change the disgusting obesity rates in our state and country, we must make physical fitness testing an assessment for students. Yes, each student should also be assessed on their progress for personal fitness goals, but it doesn't excuse them from meeting a biological age and gender fitness standard. If 1/3 of students in America were failing math instead of being obese, would we assess them on their progress in solving a math problem? No. So why should PE be any different? Ask yourselves, would you be able to pass the physical fitness test scores for elementary, middle, or high school? Or would it even matter because you're not assessed on it? Making students accountable by assessing their physical fitness test scores would motivate them and to take responsibility for their own personal health and improve them in their physical and cognitive learning throughout a lifetime. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Let's move to Terry Caldwell. And after Terry would be Catherine Gomez and Carrie Reynolds.
Hi, my name is Terry Caldwell. I am the aquatic director of the Christiansburg Aquatic Center down in Southwest Virginia. And we are struggling, as much of the Commonwealth is, and even throughout the nation, with the lack of lifeguards in our community to operate not only our indoor pools, but our outdoor pools. My goal this evening is to kind of just drop the idea in your lap for the idea of lifeguard training certifications. It could include swimming instruction in an SOL program, and then finally on to the lifeguard certification, which can be done at the age of 15. And at that point, then the student has an opportunity to work within the community where they reside. And that's basically all I wanted to give an idea for, and would be more than happy to discuss it further. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's move now to, that was Terry. Catherine Gomez, please.
Hi, my name is Catherine Gomez. I am part of Arlington Public Schools. It's my first year here, but I do come from New York City, and I have an additional 3 years teaching there. I'm here today to talk about inclusion and the importance of representation in our curriculum and in our SOLs. When we use the word inclusion, we often think about students who may have cognitive delays and physical challenges, but we don't think about culture, race, or gender. I'm here in front of you today as a Latina HPE teacher to show that representation matters. It is important for our students to see themselves in their teachers. It is important for our students to see themselves in the work that they do. And it is important for our students to see that the standards and lessons embraces their background, heritage, and gender. We're only able to do that if the SOL embraces all students. Studies have shown that students have the greatest success when they see themselves in the curriculum. And when they do, the effort and passion that exudes from the students is impeccable. It is time for Virginia SOLs to showcase the diversity we have not only in our state, but as well in our nation. The Virginia SOLs have the framework and capacity to support our students to be future leaders in any profession that they choose. And it is important that every student feels this way. And I think that if we add that, that will be great. Thank you. Thank you for letting me speak as well.
Thank you very much. Let's move to Carrie Reynolds and then Adam Otstadt.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak about the proposed standards of learning for physical education. My name is Carrie Reynolds, and I am a health and physical educator in Fairfax County Public Schools. I would like to thank the VDOE Health and Physical Education staff of Vanessa Wiggin, Danny Almarode, and Liz Payne, as well as the members of the SOL Review Committee for their work in developing the 2022 Physical Education Standards of Learning. The proposed SOLs revise and refine what is already a strong foundation for student learning in physical education. Reorganization of the standards will help teachers plan instruction in a meaningful and logical way that supports the natural progression of skill development. The inclusion of not just skill development, but knowledge development is key. By enhancing students' knowledge and understanding of how the body moves, how energy is used, and how to plan for personal fitness, we empower students to take an active role in their health and wellness. Earlier this month, I had the opportunity to speak with a student who is a senior in high school this year. He shared with me that as an 18-year-old young adult, he sees the value of the information he learned in his health and physical education classes. He freely admitted he did not fully recognize the value just a few years ago, and went on to say that he may not need what he has learned in calculus or in his AP classes, but he needs what he has learned in health and physical education to lead a healthy and productive life. The change in Standard 4 from social development to social and emotional development and the increased focus on inclusion are so important. The current research showing the importance of supporting students' social and emotional development is compelling. SEL programs have been shown to improve classroom behavior, increase students' ability to manage stress and depression, and improve students' attitudes about themselves, others, and school. SEL competencies need to be practiced and applied in a variety of settings to be able to transfer the skills from one setting or situation to another. By supporting SEL and physical education, students practice skills that can be used both in the gym and beyond. Another key change in Standard 4 is the addition of a strand to support inclusion. Students need to develop a sense of belonging, develop friendships, and be able to interact with their peers and adults in positive ways. As schools and communities continue to address questions of equality and diversity, there is no better time to be intentional in ensuring all students are included and have their individuals' needs met in classrooms across the Commonwealth. Everyone has a desire to be healthy and to feel good. The knowledge and skills gained in physical education not only help individuals to meet these goals, but also support their development as productive members of their community. Thank you for your support and recognition of the importance of physical education to Virginia's youth.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll move to Adam Ottstadt.
Good evening, members of the Virginia Board of Education and VDOE staff. Thank you for your time tonight and for the opportunity to speak. My name is Adam Ottstadt, and I am currently the Health and Physical Education Curriculum Coordinator for Williamsburg-James City County Public Schools. I'm also the proud parent of a third grader in WJCC schools. I was honored to serve as a member of the steering committee for this SOL review team. I'm here tonight in full support of the proposed 2022 physical education standards. I would like to speak to you tonight specifically about the value and importance of the energy balance strand of these standards. The proposed revisions provide additional clarity, increased vertical alignment, and include modified verbiage that guides students to develop the skills of Virginia's 5 C's. Human physiology is biased towards maintaining energy balance at high levels of energy intake and expenditure. And as a result, strategies to support weight management should include a focus on both maintaining consistent physical activity along with strategies for modifying food intake accordingly. It is vital that we teach all students the connections between physical activity, nutrition, and sleep. Students need to be able to recognize when personal choices or environmental conditions are influencing that balance, and that these components are harmonious, and how to adjust if there is an imbalance. These standards will provide Virginia students the ability to plan their own physical activity, nutrition, and sleep needs to maintain optimal health and prevent chronic disease now and for the rest of their lives, so they can live actively, knowledgeably, and responsibly. These energy balance concepts are especially important in physical education. Flooding the physical education curriculum with health and academic content is an extremely effective way to increase student learning. Physical activity optimizes your mindset to improve alertness, attention, and motivation. It prepares and encourages nerve cells to bind to one another, which is the cellular basis for logging new information in the brain, and spurs the development of new nerve cells from stem cells in the brain. So not only does exercise help the brain get ready to learn, but it actually makes retaining that information easier. All students in Virginia Public Schools will benefit from the refinement of these rigorous standards. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thanks so much. Next, we'll move to Kenneth Austin. But before Kenneth starts, just a reminder, if you do wish to speak and you haven't signed up already, please indicate that in the chat to us, and then we can promote you. If you do have specific questions, you can email those questions to vanessa.wigand, and we'll put that in the chat in just a minute, and we'll move right on. Kenneth, you have the floor. Kenneth, if you're speaking, you are muted. Okay, I tell you what we'll do is we will go to Elaine Almerode while we're trying to work on Kenneth's connection.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on the PE standards. I certainly commend the work that recognizes the importance of health and physical education to overall well-being. Physical activity develops more than the physical body. It also supports the development of the brain and affects the emotional wellness of participants. Research supports the importance of physical activity as an influential factor in academic learning. This document is thorough, specific, and it reflects evidence-based best practices. I want to focus on the positive nature of this document. However, first I want to express my concern for the absolute necessity of the allocation of daily instructional time and staffing of certified health and PE teachers to the successful implementation of these standards. Students having PE once or twice a week or a reliance on recess alone to meet these standards is inadequate. Healthy habits require habitual practice. The knowledge and skills in these standards build a strong foundation for lifelong practices for every student. Adequate physical activity, healthy nutrition, emotional wellness depend on understanding and discovering individual fitness interests and needs and safely pursuing those for life. A healthy community depends on healthy individuals. Unhealthy communities drain resources. Increased physical activity improves the body and the mind. It reduces physical health risk, reduces stress, improves mood regulation. As a retired educator with over 40 years as a teacher, school counselor, and curriculum instruction supervisor in Augusta County schools, I have seen the impact of physical activity on students across the curriculum. I have seen students discover the joy of particular health and physical activities. I have seen students who stayed in school because health and PE provided them something they needed. I have seen students avoid school suspension by taking a brisk walk outside supervised by a dedicated PE teacher. We do not teach subjects, we teach children. They are not just physical bodies. We also teach their hearts and their minds. All subjects are important, and that includes PE. The old hierarchy of academics are important, but other subjects are just add-on is outdated and false. Recognizing the importance of these standards embraces teaching the whole child. And I fully support these standards. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Next, we will go to Jessica Brantley.
Good evening, members of the Board of Education. Thank you for this opportunity to address the proposed 2022 Driver Education Standards of Learning. My name is Jessica Brantley. I'm a Health, Physical Education, and Driver Education Coordinator for Charlottesville City Schools. I was fortunate to serve on the Driver Education SOL Committee this past year with so many wonderful colleagues. As a supervisor and educator, I appreciate the updated, more skill-focused structure of the standards. I believe these support the 21st century learner with knowledge and skills related to workplace readiness, community engagement, and civic responsibility. Teaching students how to safely operate a vehicle is a big responsibility, and providing Virginia's teens with a conceptual understanding of safe driving practices and proficient skill-based performance, as well as clear, concise, and measurable expectations in the classroom and in-car will allow us to increase the opportunities for students to safely possess a driver's license and be a responsible and safe driver. The proposed 2022 Driver Education Standards of Learning include updated information on previous topics, but also include important new information. I would like to highlight two updates specifically. First, the emphasis regarding the legalization of marijuana and its effects on drivers. I can tell you firsthand that many students have been misinformed about the negative impacts of marijuana on the driving task, and it's important we get accurate information to our students as part of our updated standards. Second, I also want to highlight my support for the information regarding vehicle occupant protection and the standards related to the new vehicle technologies. There have been numerous advancements in the area, and it's imperative that we prepare our student drivers for experiences with the most updated technologies. I encourage the board to approve the proposed 2022 driver education standards of learning so that driver educators like myself can provide comprehensive training and skills to all of our new drivers. Thank you.
Thanks so much. We'll now move to Mark Brandenberger.
There we go. Thank you, Ms. Holton and Board of Education and colleagues. I'm going to speak on both driver education and physical education items. I will put my items into writing as I do have some specifics to point out. First, in item K, the first review of proposed driver education standards of learning. The document itself has links to the 2015 SOLs, which is helpful. However, the 3 pages in the document do not include the mentioned attachments of attachment A, which is the strike-through version, or attachment B, the clean version. So I'm not sure our public has truly had access to the revisions that were proposed. The 3-page document does give an overview, but I'm not sure that everyone has access to the specifics, which I feel would certainly be necessary for those in our public that are not associated with schools already. In terms of the organization of the standards, I do appreciate what we've done in health education and physical education, and I'm wondering if the time is right to have topics or headers for driver education, as some of these standards are aligned with one another in the areas of vehicle operation and emergencies. 2, traffic safety. 3, driver performance and motor skills. 4, consumerism and conservation. That we do have strands that are connected, and it may make sense to put them into groupings. Specifically, thank you for expanding the driver education standard number 13 on distracted driving. Our 2020 data has, with over 8.3 million registered vehicles, over 100,000 crashes, about 74% of which could be driver or equipment failure that are not related to alcohol or speed. So how much of that is related truly to distracted driving or an unaware driver? I would beg that the statistics would show many of them, if not all of them. So we do appreciate the focus on our young drivers with distracted driving identification and how to modify behaviors. We would like for clarification on the purpose of relocating driver education standard 24 that has to do with crash education and law enforcement. It was previously an item within driver education standard 1. Does it appear at the bottom as it was added last chronologically in terms of importance? Should it be higher and align with standard number 1 and fall immediately under that? Switching to item J for physical education standards, the change from strand 4 to social and emotional development. In Henrico County, we have crosswalked the standards, the SEL guidance standards to health and PE, and we are very rich in social emotional learning in our field. More than 50% of our standards address SEL guidance standards. With that, we do begin to have teachers, thank you, that perhaps could be acting as interventionists without training. So I would like to be careful of what we're putting out there in terms of when we're asking in 6.4D to describe, in 1.4E to demonstrate the use of self-management skills to control emotions during physical activity when we have not addressed earlier Bloom's levels of describing or understanding, that teachers will be responsibility for having students demonstrate those skills without the training of how to help foster those in young people. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move to Charla Hamilton.
All right, can you hear me?
I can.
All right, perfect. Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. My name is Charlotte Hamilton, and I'm a PE teacher at Arlington County Public Schools. I'm speaking tonight because I believe our physical education SOL should be fully inclusive. Not only do I think it is important, but it is essential to include the newly proposed language in our SOLs, which states students will understand that inclusion is a social and emotional experience associated with feelings of belonging, acceptance, and value that creates a supportive environment for all students. Inclusion should not just be for students with cognitive delay and physical challenges. It should also embrace all students and celebrate their background and heritage. Arlington County Public Schools, the county I work for, is a very diverse county. Our school community represents 142 nations with 115 languages spoken. Despite these different backgrounds, cultures, and histories, the curriculum sometimes fails to reflect and embrace these differences. This could cause students to question where they stand in the classroom and their value outside of the classroom. Students have the greatest success when they see themselves in the curriculum and when their culture, gender, and racial identities are affirmed. Making sure our students are represented within our teaching practice will show them that they belong, will build community and empathy, and give them inspiration for their own futures. Research shows that students who study in inclusive environments learn more, exhibit less prejudice, and have more self-confidence. A curriculum that does not speak to the diversity in the classroom risks alienating an enormous part of the student population. All of our students deserve to be supported and recognized. Classrooms are also one of the first places where children learn socialization skills. Students who feel supported, respected, and included will most likely support, respect, and include others. My county's vision is to be an inclusive community that empowers all students to foster their dreams, and explore their possibilities, and create their future. One of our core values is inclusivity, which focuses on strengthening our community by valuing people for who they are, nurturing our diversity, and embracing the contributions of all students, families, and staff. I feel that in order to support the vision and core values of my county, we must include this newly proposed language in our physical education SOLs. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is Amy Wheeler, then Tim, then Marcia.
Hi, good evening to the Board of Education, the Department of Education, and all other attendees. I'm honored and humbled by this opportunity to share my feedback tonight, so thank you. My name is Amy Wheeler. I am a mother and a passionate health and physical education program leader in Northern Virginia. I ask everyone in attendance tonight to think about the entirety of your day today. From the time you woke up, getting to go to and from school or work, interacting with colleagues, students, and strangers, running errands, breakfast, lunch, dinner, moving your body. Think about all the decisions that you have made so far in your waking hours today. Think about how those decisions have impacted you physically, mentally, socially, emotionally. Think about all the skills necessary to make those decisions. What may seem simple and mundane is actually quite complex and requires effective communication and collaboration skills, self-management, social awareness, stress management skills, and responsible decision-making skills. This list of life skills is the bedrock on which the physical education and driver education SOLs are built. I am here tonight to speak in support of both revisions. Some may not see a connection between the two, but to me, it's simple yet profound. Every single day, every single body makes thousands of decisions that influence our overall health, well-being, and safety. From the amount of sleep we get, to wearing a seatbelt, driving the speed limit, communicating and collaborating with colleagues or strangers, what fuel goes into our bodies, how our bodies move, how we respond to stress, the list goes on. These SOLs capture the essence of what it takes to be a happy, healthy human. In both content areas, I appreciate the explicit addition of the profile of a Virginia graduate. In reading through these 4 pillars of content knowledge, career exploration, workplace skills, community engagement, and civic responsibility, it is clear to see how seamlessly the profile integrates into both content areas. Teachers will continue to have rigorous and relevant standards to support students in building the skills necessary to optimize their overall wellness. My son is a member of the class of 2034. I imagine that he or one of his classmates might someday eradicate the next pandemic before it arises, or solve global hunger, create the first flying car, or even invent something that none of us can even imagine yet. And while content knowledge from all subject areas will give them the tools to accomplish these things, it is the curriculum of Virginia Health, Physical Education, and Driver Education that will ensure that they have the physical, mental, social, and emotional health to navigate whatever field they are in to succeed. Thank you for your time, and thanks.
Thanks so much. We'll move to Tim Mahans. You're muted.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening. My name is Tim Mahans. We have 3 children, 2 of which are in the Augusta County school system. I'm speaking today in support of the new SOLs for physical education. In a world where our children spend more and more time on a screen each day, our increasingly sedentary lives are a concern. According to the CDC, less than a quarter of children get the recommended 60 minutes of activity per day. According to the Kaiser Family Foundation, children spend an average of 7.5 hours per day in front of a screen. Therefore, giving our children a solid, knowledgeable foundation is crucial to our children's health and the future health of our communities. I know a large amount of research has gone into the standards, so I thought I would briefly summarize from a parent's perspective why I think the new focus on developing physical literacy in our students is so important. Motor skill development. Since COVID has decreased participation and the availability of extracurricular classes and sports activities, it's even more important now that motor skills are practiced throughout the school day, especially because many families are having to make choices on expenditures, may not be able to afford extracurricular activities, and there might not be any activities they feel are safe for their families at this time. As a public education system, we should be addressing motor skills as much as mental skills. Anatomical basis of movement. A thorough understanding of the body helps with both learning movements, but also helps with body safety. Their social and emotional development. So much of our children's social and emotional development has been stunted by this pandemic. Our children need the social interaction from athletic activities. Children need to practice physical games and working together to complete a challenge and learn how to win and lose. As social media and video games become more and more prevalent in our lives, our students need these face-to-face interactions to increase their self-confidence and self-esteem. Learning new activities and sports fuels a feeling of accomplishment and confidence. We're going to address fitness planning and energy balance together. I think these 2 parts of the SOLs are some of the most crucial components to set our children up for healthy lives in adulthood. As our society becomes exposed to more social media and more influencers every day, it'll be crucial for our children to be able to look at the influencers' post and know that amount of food in a day does not contain enough calories to safely fuel my body, or that supplement isn't regulated, so maybe it's not safe for my body because of my health condition. Or I just had a baby 4 weeks ago, and my body isn't ready for that high-intensity core program. We need to give our children a solid base of information so they can make safe activity and food choices. I'd also like to thank you for making the standards more inclusive for all children, regardless of their ability. I appreciate your time and the opportunity to speak.
Thank you so much. We'll now move to Marcia Richardson.
Hi, good afternoon. How's everyone? Great.
Good, thanks.
All right. I am a teacher, health and physical education teacher at Wakefield High School in Arlington, Virginia. This is my 27th year in Arlington County. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak this afternoon. Some of the talking points are redundant, but I will highlight a talking point that no one has mentioned. I'd like to see, again, that success come from, as we were mentioning, that lens or the mirror earlier, because when students get an opportunity to see themselves and a reflection of other teachers that are teaching them, I think they give them an opportunity to be extremely successful. For example, you take swimming. Right now, we're in a swim unit, and my African American students or my students from other cultures are mentioning to me, "Blacks don't swim, Miss Richardson." Well, there are reasons for that as well, and so I try to give them the information on Stanford graduate Simone Manuel, 2016 Rio Olympics. So right now, a lot of minority students are not seeing themselves through that lens as swimmers, which is unfortunate. So I think the reframed SOLs will have the framework and the capacity to support our students, just not in the classroom at the pool, but for in any profession. The skills, working together for collaboration, the confidence and the self-esteem. That's other reasons why some students don't want to swim, as a result of that lack of confidence and lack of self-esteem, how they look in front of others. Give them an opportunity for creative thinking, and also being in a safe and social emotional environment as well. I definitely am supportive of inclusion. And of course, it shouldn't just be for students with cognitive delays or physical challenges. It definitely should embrace all students and celebrate their backgrounds and heritage and introduce new learning information to them as well. Thank you.
Thanks very much. And now we'll move to Brent Bandel.
Good evening to the Board of Education and other guests. My name is Brent Bandel. I've been a member of Vedette's Board of Directors for 12 years, two-time president, and more importantly, classroom and in-car driver education teacher for 26 years in Chesterfield County. And I believe in the BDOE's proposed 2022 driver education standards of learning. To me, the standards of learning are like a living document, continually evolving with the times. The proposed 2022 standards of learning provides valuable driver safety information covering many topics that are extremely important to both me and driver education and my students. They provide teens with conceptual understanding of safe driving practices and proficient skill-based performance, as well as clear, concise, and measurable expectations in both the classroom and in car. They will increase opportunities for safety and possess a driver's license. One of the things I'm particularly interested in is the proper use of new occupant protection technologies found in many newer vehicles. As I said, the things kind of morph. Technology continues to evolve. We need to make sure we help our students understand it and remain safe on our roads. So I'm particularly excited about how implementing these standards. I am a parent of a 20-year-old and a 16-year-old who currently has her learner's permit. And I think that these things that we're teaching will help them throughout their lifetime. And I appreciate your time this evening. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. We're going to move now to Stevie Gray.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Stevie Ray Gray, and I come to you this evening as a health and physical educator with 13 years teaching experience, currently teaching in Henrico County. And as a parent with 7 years parenting experience, all of my children are eventually going to go to Chesterfield County Public Schools. I've been fortunate enough to visit and work with physical educators from different states through various professional development opportunities. And the overall consensus is the same, which is that Virginia Health and Physical Education SOLs are the bar that is to be, it's the bar that is set, it's the gold standard, so to speak. So in the little bit of time that I have, I just want to highlight some of the changes within the 5 strands that I believe I've seen that will be beneficial for students and for the teachers delivering this content. So with motor skill development strand, the proposed SOLs clarified some of the language and streamlined it so that there's scaffolding between grade levels is a lot clearer. For the anatomical basis strand, the growing understanding of anatomy and physiology, identifying bones and muscles, and what activities are used or what activities they are used for, and how to strengthen those muscles and bones are always important. The fitness planning for goals that are focused on goal setting and developing personal fitness plans with criteria and reference assessments. It was mentioned earlier that the assessment part may need to be revisited again, but I think the emphasis on, not competing against one another, but puts an emphasis on progress instead of peer comparison is really important. The energy balance, as Adam mentioned earlier, addresses healthy nutrition choices and disease prevention, and a heavy emphasis on the social emotional realm with a focus on group and individual physical activity, appropriate behavior, promoting positive and safe learning. There's a glance off on inclusion, as several speakers said earlier. It probably should be revisited too, to make the definition a little bit more broader, but it is in there, which is a start. I'm probably running out of time, so to summarize, these SOLs are really important. It helps to fight the unfortunate stigma that I think some parents might still have from their past physical education classes, and has been picked up because it refines what students should know and what they should be able to do in our classes. And I think Vanessa Wiggin and Dr. Payne, Dr. Almarode, and I'm sure many other people that I'm missing have done an amazing job crafting these SOLs that will create students who are physically literate, meaning that they have the skills and the knowledge necessary to maintain a healthy lifestyle and can make smart choices regarding nutrition and can participate in physical activity that is meaningful to them. So they're more likely to do it for a lifetime. So I'd like to thank them and the committee members and all of you for listening to me tonight, and thank you for your consideration.
Thanks so much for your comments. We'll now move to Ron Traynor.
Good evening, distinguished members of the board, Department of Education, and those in attendance tonight. My name is Ron Traynor, and I'm a health and physical education teacher at Toano Middle School in Williamsburg, James City County. I'm appreciative of the time to speak with you tonight in support of the proposed revision of the physical education standards. Having been a participant in the SOL writing process several years ago, I'm grateful for the multi-step inclusive process the Virginia Department of Ed utilizes in working with all stakeholders in creating comprehensive, forward-thinking, cogent standards for the students of the Commonwealth. Many years ago, back when the earth was cooling and I started my teaching career, I was presented with my first copy of the Virginia SOL for physical education. These were the guides that operated more as my curriculum in my very small school division. The standards were narrow and extremely specific. While they were pertinent and provided a great start to this teacher's career, the scope allowed very little flexibility and creativity. Our role as physical educators is to create opportunities for exploration with an eye towards students gaining an enjoyment of physical, personal activity, fitness, and health choices that leads them into adulthood. What I see now as I look at the proposed standards is a framework to develop a robust curriculum with many opportunities for teachers and student exploration into vast topics of motor skill development, biomechanical principles, fitness development, and extremely important social emotional learning. As I reviewed the standards, I'm appreciative of the scaffolded vertical articulation approach the team has used in revising our standards. The detail provided throughout the standards gives practitioners the guidance needed when using the standards to develop vigorous curricula at the school level, while also allowing the flexibility and autonomy for educators to create curriculum that best suits the constituents and communities. For example, middle schoolers in pursuit of recreational activities, the standard allows for flexibility to pursue recreational activities within their community. The truth is, what recreational activities look like in Virginia Beach is going to look very different in Buchanan. Even canoeing in both communities is going to look very different or be very different trips. I believe ultimately our goal as physical educators is to teach and provide students with the knowledge and skills they need to live a long and healthy life. As teachers, we look to the standards to best understand what students should know and be able to do. I have had many opportunities to meet and talk with teachers all over the country. The jaw-drop responses I received when I mentioned that my students track personal daily activity with a pedometer, evaluate heart rate with a heart rate monitor while utilizing a fitness training center, explore mountain biking, inline skating, climbing wall, etc. All of these opportunities are afforded my students because the leadership in Virginia has pushed me as an educator to look for the most innovative ways to teach my students with rigorous and innovative standards of learning that sets the benchmark for all of those that follow. I would like to especially appreciate and thank those that were involved in the process under the esteemed leadership of Vanessa Wiggin. We're all the better for your work. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you tonight.
Thank you so much. Next speaker is Mackenzie Petrie. Mackenzie, oh, there you go.
Sorry, my
No
mic
worries.
is working well, so I'm switching to another computer, hoping that this helps. My name is Mackenzie Petrie. I am an adapted PE teacher in Augusta County. I've been teaching for 14 years, and of course, with the majority of everyone here, I believe in teaching the knowledge and skills, promoting lifelong fitness and social interaction for all students, specifically my students who learn differently and may need different accommodations than our typically developing students. I appreciate the opportunity that everyone through the state is giving the communities while they're proposing the new standards, but I really just want to specifically say and kind of reiterate what a lot of people have said regarding Strand 4, and that I'm just extremely happy to see the additions of emotional development and the social and emotional development, but more so the promotion of inclusion. My professional life has been devoted to these students, and I think that while more needs to be done, that they at least deserve the support and the fact that the state is able to kind of give them something more, showing consistency, promoting the inclusion that we're doing with all of our students and classes at our schools, but I don't think that that's necessarily everywhere. So I definitely think that that's a step in the right direction, but I feel that we need to move a little bit more, but one step at a time. And I really, like I said, just want to reiterate that's my heart. And I think that we need to take one step at a time. And I'm happy to see that first big step.
Thank you very much. We will now move to Leigh Dunn.
Good evening. My name is Leigh Dunn. I am here to speak tonight as a teaching leader and parent to students in Virginia Beach City Public Schools, as well as an instructor of future teachers at Old Dominion University. I was privileged to work with 42 other educators from around the state to review and revise the physical education standards, and am grateful to the Board of Education for the opportunity to speak on the proposed changes. Virginia has long been the gold standard for physical education across the country, thanks in large part to the efforts of Vanessa Wiggin and now Dr. Almirad, along with the collaborative efforts of excellent educators throughout the state. These proposed changes will further solidify our place as the leader in physical education, with standards that focus on overall wellness and more seamlessly integrate with our health standards. I am most proud of the changes that we made in motor skill development to enable students to scaffold skills, to build knowledge, coordination, strength, and endurance, allowing them to enjoy a lifetime of physical activity. I have always considered the health and physical education department the heart of a school. The emphasis on STEM-based skills used in the anatomical basis of movement, energy balance, and fitness planning strands are cross-curricular achievements that will help our students truly connect their classroom learning to the real world. Examples of these STEM connections include fitness data analysis and energy balance, using technology tools in fitness planning, and understanding and describing efficient movement through planes of motion and anatomical basis of movement. During our review process, we sought and considered the opinion of university faculty regarding some of the proposed changes, particularly regarding energy balance. This was an important collaboration as I and my fellow colleagues prepare future health and physical educators. Their understanding of our standards of learning is an integral part of their success as educators, the success of their students, and their philosophy as teachers. My many roles with health and physical education in the state have allowed me to see the importance of well-developed standards. I have also seen extensively the need to ensure that all of Virginia's schools are staffed with quality health and physical educators to implement these standards. All students of Virginia should have the opportunity to participate in adequate health and physical education programs to offer them ample space, time, and support to master these standards. In order for this to happen, the Board of Education must take steps to legislate the amount of time all students should receive for high-quality physical education and support adequate, highly trained staffing levels for these students. I am proud to have been a part of the committee created to tackle the task of revising our standards of learning. The outcome is quite brilliant, and thank you so much for your time and consideration this evening.
Thank you so much. We have 2 more speakers. The next one would be Patricia Boglin. And Patricia, if you're speaking, you will need to unmute. Okay, let's go to Debbie DeFranco, and then we'll come back to Patricia. Debbie, you are muted. That's okay. It happens.
There we go. I'm Debbie DeFranco, the proud supervisor of health, physical, driver education, and athletics in Arlington Public Schools. I want to thank you for the opportunity to provide remarks on the proposed physical education standards of learning. I want to thank Vanessa Wiggin, her BDOE colleagues, and the physical educators across the state for the work on this curriculum. I'm most pleased with the addition of inclusion in the social emotional development strand, which I hope will support all students so that they feel respected for their knowledge and skills and welcomed in the learning environment. However, the definition of inclusion was not clearly explained, and I feel this is critical to the comprehensive delivery of instruction. Inclusion must not be just for those students lacking physical and cognitive skills, but also include different cultures, race, and gender identities. The research is clear, and it shows that students have the greatest amount of success when they see themselves in the curriculum, when their culture, gender, and racial identities are affirmed. Virginia's diverse student population needs to be celebrated in all curricula, and I implore that the physical education SOLs define and broaden its content to embrace all of our students' identities, and it just can't be in the dance SOLs. So in PE 7.1, students identify and demonstrate dance in folk, social, multicultural, contemporary, and line dances. So using this as an example, students could learn dance and why it's performed, such as the hula, which is sometimes performed at religious ceremonies or paid to honor the gods. Another example of inclusion could be in SOL 4.4, where students demonstrate positive interactions with others in cooperative and competitive physical activities. Most often at the end of a game, a handshake is a routine display of sportsmanship. If these SOLs are being inclusive, a teacher might explore how other cultures end or start a competition, such as in Japan, teams bow as a sign of respect to each other at the start and the end of sports, such as in martial arts. By providing fully inclusive SOLs and being an ally for all cultures, races, and gender identities, we will be supporting children and young people and imagining their futures as students, athletes, thinkers, and doers of a much kinder world. Also, the physical education standards need to expand to other aspects of physical development and not just participating in fitness and sport. The social emotional SOLs involve decision-making and resolve conflicts. This standard should also be expanded to include officiating. An official doesn't have to be successful in playing the sport, but needs to know the rules and regulations and how to communicate, make decisions based on content knowledge, and resolve conflicts. In addition, officiating aligns perfectly with the profile of a Virginia graduate using knowledge and application of the sport and a personal interest in the activity, and provides them an entrance into the workforce. Currently, the nation is experiencing a shortage of officials, and our SOLs can introduce students to this occupation. I want to thank you once again for the opportunity to provide these remarks and thank my colleagues for their work and hope that my remarks will be included in the approval. Have a great night.
Thanks so much. Patricia Boglin, and we also added Travis Davidson after Patricia. Patricia, are you able to unmute?
I think so. Did it work this time?
Yep, you're all good. Go for it.
Okay. I didn't get a response. I had sent an email earlier, so I didn't know I was going to speak. So I apologize if this doesn't sound very put together. I'm a school bus driver, and one of the concerns I have as a bus driver is the lack of consistency with rules. A lot of the rules are put in place for the children's safety. And although all of the schools have rules in place, when drivers try to enforce the rules, we're often, I don't know the right way to say this, it's not taken as seriously as it should be. And I love kids. I've been driving for a school bus for 18 years. I've driven in 4 different areas. And I think that children meet expectations when they know what the expectations are. But when they're not given clear expectations, or they're not being consistently encouraged, I think that starts a problem, and it makes the kids not really want to be safe on the bus, if that makes sense. So again, I'm sorry, I'm not very prepared. I didn't write anything down, but that's just my feeling.
Thank you so much
for allowing me to speak.
Thank you so much for
Sorry?
taking the time this evening to speak. We'll move on to Travis Davidson, but before you start speaking, one last call. If anybody does wish to speak and your name hasn't been called thus far, please put your name in the chat and let us know your wish to speak. We have checked the names that had signed up for attendance in the list, and we don't see them. So at this time, we'll turn it over to Travis, and then we'll wrap up.
Hello, can you hear me well enough? Great. Hello, my name is Travis Davidson. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak and contribute to both of these standards of learning. I'm a parent. You may see a picture of my daughter and my son riding their bikes behind me there in the background. I'm also a advocacy director for the Bike Norfolk organization, and I serve on the board of directors of the Virginia Bike Federation. I'm speaking on behalf of myself tonight, but I wanted you to be aware of my affiliations. I'm calling in to comment about the need for improved bicycle education in the driving program and also physical education. Students need to know how to ride bicycles properly in traffic and in the roadways. And they also, as drivers, as motor vehicle drivers, they need to be taught how to drive safely with bicyclists using the roadways around them. So those are two needs where I think an improvement in our education system in those areas could help with the many of the physical education goals that were discussed earlier, the health and fitness. The person who does ride their bicycle gets those benefits. And the number one reason why more people do not ride their bicycle is they do not feel safe on the roadway with motor vehicles primarily. Either they don't feel the facilities are safe enough, or they've been bullied too many times. And it's a great opportunity for our children to start them off as they start driving, to know how to respect bicyclists and to treat them with the respect they deserve. And I thank you again for the opportunity to speak to all of you this evening.
Thanks so much, Travis. And next speaker is Matt Hopwell, and we are also working on a couple of others. Denise, if you're still there and you still want to speak, please let us know what your screen name is. All right, go ahead, Matt.
First off, thank you for having me to this evening. I've like others, have not prepared anything for this, but after listening to many of you all, I wanted to chime in and first, thank everyone that has talked. Thank everyone that has prepared these new standards of learning for Virginia. I am a former health and PE teacher, currently a dean of students in Albemarle County. So I have seen, I've lived the physical education life, then also going into administration, also seeing the benefits of physical education within the schools for our students, not just within the gymnasium, but outside of in other classrooms. I really appreciate the emphasis that you all are putting on the social and emotional development of our students and the inclusion. I work with students all day, and sometimes that health and physical education is their best class. This is one of the reasons why they come to school. So having that structure put in place and having such a robust curriculum, robust standards that are put into it, allows them to come in every single day, have things that are set, and have a great day. Again, hopefully, it wasn't just rambling, but thank you for everything, and good luck.
Thank you so much for your comments. We'll now move to Barbara. Barbara, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm Barbara Dirk. I'm from Roanoke, Virginia. I'm a League of American Bicyclists cycling instructor. I believe that we need to provide infrastructure for our young people to walk and bicycle to school. That healthy communities, healthy Commonwealth, connecting our Commonwealth, and walking and bicycling provide freedom for our young people to make decisions, and when they get to school, they are awake and ready to learn. I live right beside an elementary school, and the cars waiting to pick up and drop off the children in the morning and the afternoon go around the block, and that needs to change because most of these children live within walking and bicycling to school. So if we could promote a school bus or just walking and bicycling to school and allow that to happen, that would be good. There's many communities that forbid children to get to school because they think that pupil funding is based on the number of children that ride the bus. And I've questioned that before. And if a child rides the bus just one day, then they get the funding for pupil transportation. That we need to practice the skills we learn, and by walking and bicycling to school, it allows us to walk and bicycle to after school. We have after school activities, but a lot of times the children have not been taught how to cross the road. And so they can't get to the park on the other side of the 4-lane divided highway. It opens up a whole world to many, many people when they can walk and bicycle to their destination. There's young people in Roanoke that have come from other countries, and the girls have not learned to ride bicycles. And when they learn to ride a bicycle, they are free. They can just go in anywhere, and it's truly wonderful. Air quality, the benefits for cardio, for diabetes are just right in there. That we need to work with our state and local health departments to promote the bike ped agenda. We need to teach in our driver's education how to drive with bicycles. I have taught before through Parks and Recreation driver's education for 12 to 16-year-olds, because a bicycle is considered a vehicle and bicyclists are considered drivers. So they learn the same rules of the road that you learn when you're driving a car. And then when they get in the car, since they have been driving a bicycle, they are more appreciative of the laws that the interaction between a motor vehicle and a bicyclist or walkers along the road. The death rate for walkers and bicyclists is way up. Our health standards, as many people have said, is way up. So thank you for letting me speak tonight, and let's include Traffic Skills 101 in our PE courses. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We have been trying to communicate with Denise Manuel. For some reason, I know that you indicated your wish to speak. For some reason, we cannot see you in the attendees list in order to promote you. If you could sign out, then sign back in, we can hopefully then see you, and then we can promote you to panelist. And we'll give that a minute or two in order for you to do that.
Michael, while we're waiting, can we also just make sure if there's anybody else who wishes to be
Sure.
heard tonight, now is the time. Put your name in the chat very quickly and we'll get you.
Yep, thank you for that reminder. Absolutely. And then finally, we'll put in the chat a reminder if you have comments or you'd like to submit your written comments to the either to instruction or to Vanessa Wiggin, please do so. The emails are in the chat. We're always happy to take thoughts and comments. And let's see if we can see Denise coming back in. Not quite yet. We'll give it a few more minutes.
Virginia?
All right, we will give it another minute, but Denise, if you'll do us a favor and please email us your comments if we can't get this technical issue straight, you can email them to instruction@doe.virginia.gov, spelled out. That's the easiest one for you to remember. Let's see, Darlene. Yes. Okay. So, Brendan, if you'll promote Darlene Wilson Thomas. Darlene, you have the floor. Darlene, if you're speaking, you're muted.
Okay, can you hear me now? Hi, my name is Darlene Wilson Thomas. I am a retired teacher from Richmond Public Schools. I have been working with driver's education for 40 years, and I've had the opportunity to work with Vanessa, Janet Ragland, and many more of the Department of Education, as well as many of the teachers throughout the Richmond City. Henrico has been a part of that. And I'm glad to see where now they have collaborated with the SOLs, because I feel just like health and physical education, it is a life skills. Driver's education is a life skills. So we have to continue to try to teach our young people. It's not just because getting behind the wheel of a car, it's also about staying safe. And that's the main goal. Working with the inner city kids, it is difficult because basically you're looking at taking them from the step, but now because we have the SOLs collaborated to help them to see the importance of when you get behind the wheel of a car, it's all the importance of keeping yourself safe, away from distractions. Now also seeing how what we have now is the difference in how our cars, I can remember, as many of you can remember, the first car that you have ever been in as a child, being that some didn't have seat belts, how now you have, of course, seat belts, the airbag, the importance of working with the 8-4 hand position, the importance of being on top of when you get behind the wheel, the importance of being physically, mentally, just like we said, we collaborate together, health and physical education and driver's ed. And that from that point, thank you all for allowing us to share this opportunity for our young people. And the object is to keep them safe in all aspects, not just from getting, again, behind the wheel, but the physical, the mental, preparing them for now knowing about legalization of marijuana, how the impact of getting behind that wheel can also, not just because that's a young driver, but all drivers. So I say to you, thank you, and continue to be safe. And we continue to do what we need to do with the health and physical education and driver's ed. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Denise, I see that you cannot get on. We can see your chat, but you cannot see, well, I'm not sure you can see our chat because I just put a link to the Zoom in the chat. If you can see the chat, please link on that or click on that, and maybe we can get you on board here.
Michael, I think Denise is saying that she's also sent written comments in already as well with her registration. So we'll be sure that we get those.
Okay, and Denise, we're very sorry that for the technical problem, I'm not sure even how to troubleshoot that. I wish I could, but please do send your public comment to instruction@doe.virginia.gov, and we will make sure that not only the staff members at the DOE see it, but also the board members as well. Okay, and you're saying thank you. So with that, I guess we will wrap up for the evening. And so I'll turn it over to Mrs. Holton to read the closing statement.
Well, thank you, Michael, and to all for participating in tonight's public hearing. I have to tell you, this was just so inspiring to me, your participation well into the evening. So many of you, the thoughtfulness and helpfulness of your comments, we're very grateful for. I also want to take a moment to thank the staff for their incredible work tonight in helping us gather your input, but really throughout this process, and all the stakeholders, all the parents and teachers and others who've been involved in this really long and careful work. We appreciate everybody's feedback tonight and engagement with the Board of Education. VDOA staff will absolutely consider all comments made tonight for any additional revisions to the proposed standards, as will the board. We anticipate that the proposed standards will come back to the board for final review at our March 17, 2022 meeting. That meeting is, how to participate in that meeting is available on the BOE website. Please enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you all.